All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So today we will be looking at energy and oil. Hey, I don't ask this often, but if you could like and subscribe, that would be really appreciated. It does good things with the YouTube machine, and yeah, my buddies say I don't ask enough, so please and thank you. Nonetheless, what are we going to do today? Same thing we always do, right? We're going to look at the daily and the weekly to see what's setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages, these horizontal support and resistance lines, and then when we're done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume. Again, 80% of the work is up here. This is our lower indicators for confirmation, okay? So on the last video, okay, we talked about good confirmation and bad confirmation, right? I know there were 3 days where it was over the 20, over the 8, over the 100, over all of them, right? But I felt that this was not going to be good. And clearly, since the last week, it's been nothing but bad, right? And again, if SCO does bad, that's good for oil because this is a short on oil. So if oil is good, this will be bad, right? So seeing this do poorly makes me feel good about the oil stocks we should be seeing. Number of death crosses happening, right? 8 goes under the 20, under the 100, hasn't quite gone under the 50, but it looks like it should in the next day or two, right? Interesting support line coming up, right? What happens? I'll see it on the weekly when we zoom out. But yeah, nothing but bad once we lost all the moving averages. A whole lot of selling. And really, none of the selling has been over the 50 moving average, right? There was some days that were close. The last 2 days obviously were close. But if this volume goes higher in terms of selling, this could get even worse, right? And that's why I wanted to see what happens after this line, right? But yeah, MACD is getting worse. This is definitely still super tight and still high enough to go real lower if, again, oil keeps looking good, right? Let's look at the weekly. Okay, so a lot of reason to believe we'll at least come to this. I'm not sure why this line isn't here. Let me see what that looks like on the daily. Oh, we're taking that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to move it. I actually will. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'll move it to the bottom of this. I think that'll probably be the better line to use. So look, there's not that big of a distance between these two. So honestly, I think it's real likely we'll lose this one and then end up coming to that 2150. Really, after the 2150 is where I'm going to start wondering what's going to happen. Because if 2150 is lost, from there, we'll probably come down to, what is this? 19, right? My line's at 1833, but yeah, I can see 19 actually being a little bit worse. I'm going to go ahead and actually raise this one to that. I think that's the better position to have. So really at this point, there's a lot of reason to believe there's still what? Almost a 20% drop from here, right? Roughly $4, right? 2224. So that could be good if you are trading oil stocks. Because again, if SCO is bad, that means oil should be doing well. Let's come into OXY. All right, interesting. Oxy did not do as well as expected. Hey, I'll be honest though, sometimes just at least staying horizontal is definitely better than staying well under the 8, right? So in a lot of ways, it has done some good stuff. It just really goes to show you why I keep saying the 200 is last for a reason, okay? It is a very difficult line one, it's a very bad line to lose. Okay, I would really say this one's never actually lost it though. I know this looks bad right here, but it's really been pretty horizontal with this thing, right? It kind of oscillated down, didn't really oscillate up as much as I expected, but yeah, it's the last one for a reason. I'm saying that one more time, you know what I mean? But look, we've been well under the 8. We're definitely starting to go horizontal. I'm liking that golden cross, maybe another golden cross right there if we can get just one good day, right? But yeah, RSI's kind of going down. That's a little interesting. It seems like today wasn't that great a day, but I'll say the buying has slowed down. That should be easy, right? Bunch of days in a row, definitely more selling than buying. However, this one buy day kind of scares away these two, give or take, right? You can kind of stack them on each other and it roughly is that, right? So overall, still a good amount of buying. But again, I think SCO not doing well makes me feel good. There is a chance SCO could bounce on one of these upcoming lines, right? I think RSI is still a little high enough to believe it might go down before it bounces, but you know, it's seen action on this line before. It's definitely made a bounce on this line before, right? So as long as SCO doesn't bounce, it should give OXY the time it needs to get out of this. Because again, look, this is a 3-line horizontal cluster, right? And I always say it, when you trade in these, you tend to go horizontal, and then eventually it'll shoot you out. And really, you could almost even say we're trading in a cluster of all 5 now, right? Because now that we've kind of broken out of this, but like not beautifully, but now that we're kind of out of this, we're still now in this, right? So it's definitely very noisy because of the moving averages. But if SCO just can't get it together, that hopefully gives OXY enough time. Again, look, this isn't a great weekly, but it's not a bad weekly by any means, right? So horrible, horrible, horrible. We're able to kind of bounce off the 50. We get a doji right here, though, right? So there's a lot of importance on this week. Definitely is a short week, right? Only 3 days left. So hopefully we can make our way up. Still over the 8, but I mean, I wanted this bounce of the 50 to really kind of bring us right here. That really was the goal. So in the next couple days, we really need to raise about 5% and get to that 67. What's the actual number? 66, 65. Almost a bunch of sixes in a row, right? But yeah, just get us a little over 66.80. Right? Take me even to 67, just make me feel a little more comfortable, and that would be beautiful confirmation for a bounce, right? Otherwise, we're still kind of struggling with this 8. I'm at least happy we're closer to the line than well under it, right? And then look, if we lose the 50, it could get real bad. So not losing the 50 is super, super important, but it's definitely going to start with what happens with the 8 and the 20. But again, hopefully SCO does not do well and it just gives OXY enough time, okay? CEI, coming into CEI. All right, so again, we just, a couple things jump out very, very quickly, right? So obviously you know what happened here with the reverse split, a whole mess of up and then just a whole lot of down, right? We clearly you can see it. I don't even have to say much, right? We get a nice break of the 8, but you can see why I always talk about confirmation, right? I'm not here for one day to go over the 8. I'm looking for confirmation to believe we'll actually keep going up, right? One day really means nothing to me. That said, I'm for sure going to put an alert right here. I think I have to, yeah, let's raise it 1 more cent. Okay, because if we could get over this, I mean, there's really a lot of red to make up, right? It could be a real smooth trade from 2 to 3, and that's about 50%, right? This is obviously going to get in the way. So hey, maybe 2 to 250, still not too bad a move, right? But yeah, if we can get over this, I'll definitely be interested because hopefully a lot of that red gets filled. This would probably be the only thing in the middle. Obviously, the MACD and the RSI is looking all right, right? But this is why I go back to 80% up here, 20 down here. Don't let these two good things take away from the fact that this thing's just struggling with the 8 and hasn't tested the 20 in a real long time, right? So keep things in perspective, but there could be a decent move here. There's a whole lot of red candles here that would love to turn green, and CEI has the ability to get good volume, right? It could definitely hit the 15-10 million, even though it's kind of averaging around this 1.5, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty good for the daily right there. Again, very, very bad weekly, right? Very, very bad weekly. Nothing tells me sustained dailies are coming until this weekly chart looks better, right? So I'm at least glad instead of the hard drop, we're kind of going horizontal here. But again, if it could break this 198, it looks that much better on the weekly, right? Because then there's a lot of reason to believe we'll actually, come to around that $3, right? So, yeah. But again, CEI, it's going to start with getting over this line, but there's a lot it needs to do to feel sustained, right? So just if you make any money, I would suggest you bank it. And just one more time, I'm not trying to sound like a hater, but when a stock does a reverse split, in the back of my head, I always think it is going to come back down to where it was before it did the reverse split, okay? So just keep that in mind, right? I say it with a number of stocks because again, that is a pretty ugly word in my book, reverse split, ugly two words. But CEI, there is a chance for something to happen, and really there might be more interest in CEI than OXY just because of the spacing from the moving averages. Okay, Indo. I mean, Indo did amazingly since the last video, right? And you can really see why, right? Break the 8 right here, break the 20 right here, get you up here to the 50, get you up here to the 100. That is as beautiful as moving average theory gets, right? Obviously, we did not get close to the 200. That would have been very, very beautiful. But again, look, RSI got relatively high, right? What was it actually on this day? It was 76. Look, it's not the highest it's been, not the lowest it's been. But yeah, once we get into that 75, near 80 range, I start to, at least get a little worried. Couple important things to talk about today. So we definitely opened up here, right? Looked like we were going to way past the 100 and maybe even work our way a little closer to the 200. Definitely failed the 100 break, okay? But I do like the fact that we're well over 50% of this candle, right? I think I'd start to get worried if this goes under 623, and you can see it happen midday, right? The wick definitely came as low as, what was the low of the day? 611, right? So there was a moment where it looked like we were just going to eat this whole day. At least it kind of came back to a little more than 50% pretty much on this line. I would love for us to go over the 100 tomorrow, right? That would be best case scenario. From there, look, if we've been going up, we fail this 100 and we can bounce on either the 50 or either the 8 because it looks like it's about to golden cross, right? That could be cool, because that'll give this RSI a little bit time to cool off, and it'll really show that instead of all, and I can even keep zooming out because I know it's been worse, instead of all this struggling with the 8, we're actually going to start using it as a support. Because look, here, hits the 100, could not bounce off any of it, right? Then goes horizontal and fails. If we could fail the 100 but bounce, that's good. And that's progress, right? So just keep those things in mind. But again, we were bullish on this stock for a quick minute. We were more bullish on this one than the next one. And when I say we, it's just me. There is no we. But yeah, it's chart reader, so it's pluralized, right? But yeah, Indo, I was bullish. And one more time, I'm just going to kind of say it. I was more bullish on Indo than IMPP. You can clearly see the results of that. And before I just get to the technicals, I will go back to Indo. It's really important. This is why I do the sector view, right? If you can find two stocks and pick the better of them more times than not, that will compound so hard over your trading career, okay? So just keep that in mind, all right? Let me go back to Indo real quick. Again, it seems like this is going to kind of come back down maybe to this 588 range, give or take, because by then we'll either bounce from the 50 or bounce from the 8, if I had to guess, right, over the next maybe 1-2 days. But I'm real curious to see. And again, I'm not necessarily worried if it bounces. I just care if it's a healthy cool off, right? Ooh, a lot of lines right here. But where are we? We're over. Oh, man. If we can stay over the 20 on the weekly, that'd be really nice. But look, getting to 588 is roughly 50% of the candle. Excuse me. Hopefully, we can at least close above 588, sorry, to stay above 50% candle. But yeah, it's a decent RSI and MACD. Volume's clearly nothing special, right? I mean, we should be way up at the 15 millions, not sub-million, right? So volume is going to be important here. But yeah, I can expect a cool off here. I care about it being a healthy one. So if you saw it really quickly, IMPP actually looks really nice right now. So where are we compared to this? Have we broken the bottom of this guy? We did. Have we broken the top of this guy? Not quite. All right. I mean, look, a whole mess of red has pretty quickly turned into green. There's a whole mess of red right behind that to take you to this 33 line, right? It doesn't look like a lot, but it's definitely a 10% swing right there, okay? RSI looks good, MACD looks good, and volume actually does look good. So reason to believe we might actually pass this and maybe even get as high as 35 cents here. So IMPP does look nice, in all honesty. That is definitely well worth play. And, this could be a safe place if you're not in. Basically, again, I can only see 2 decimals here, but the top of the 1221 candle could be an interesting either average up point or, an entry point if you're not in. And I will go ahead and set an alert for that 29-cent one. That will be good to know. But yeah, IMPP is looking good. Look, I'm going to hate it last week. I'm going to like it this week. That's how swing trading works, right? And again, whole mess of red on the weekly that really tells me that this 34, 35-cent range actually could be a real fair target for this thing. So yeah, I am definitely liking IMPP for play this week, actually. Interesting. I'd love to see how this thing opens tomorrow. HUSA. Okay, nice. Look, again, this one had a pretty good run. Definitely got stuck right here, right? And you hear me say it often, right? When you have two lines that are relatively close together, it's just difficult to break them, okay? So this isn't too much a surprise. I like that it wasn't that hard a rejection on the 50, and we have gotten a nice little golden cross here. Obviously, I care way more about breaking these two lines than this little golden cross right here, but it's nice to see. I'll call it out. I don't call it out too often, but yeah, look, a whole mess of trading under the 8, now kind of looking like we're going over the 8. Let me see. Yeah, we've actually breaking. Wow, we've broken this cluster even, right, of all of them. So there's reason to believe HUSA might have a move here. I wish this RSI was looking a little better because that's a good MACD. I wish the green was a little more going up. But yeah, definitely way more buying than selling over the last days. It just, volume has been pretty sad. This thing definitely needs some volume, right? None of the buy days were anywhere near at 500,000 now. Come on, get more than 500,000 HUSA. Yes, this used to be a hard runner. Look at this weekly right here, okay? This is a real tight weekly, and if it could get over all the moving averages, if this thing can break that 404 number right there, I'll even call it the top of this candle. Yeah, 404. I'll set an alert for 404. If this thing can break 404 on the weekly, man, there's good reason to believe it could fly. Because look, this is sitting right at the 0. This is still super tight, would have a lot of way up. And just look, there's just been no volume here. I think if it could get over 4, we might. And I'm telling you, I know I've seen it on HUSA, right? This thing can get volume when it wants it. I just think it's lit. Look, I say it all the time. I hate trading when it's this tight of moving averages because it is anyone's guess, right? I mean, look how long it's been doing it. Look how long it's been. Look how, Jesus, right? It's literally been trading horizontally since July, almost exactly on this 380 line. It goes on it, up, lower, right? It's this 3. Oh man, that's a rough chart right there. So I could see why people aren't even that interested in it. But yeah, if it breaks it, I think the interest will come back. So we added this one last time. Look, it's done really well, right? And this is what we want to see happen with HUSA. You go horizontal and then you start going up, right? RSI is not even that high. MACD is actually starting to pass the 0 line and looking good. And look at all that buying. There is definitely reason to believe that this thing, what happens, on the weekly, we'll see what happens. It looks like we're going to hit this 176. Is that all-time highs? No, it's not all-time highs. But yeah, I mean, it's reason to believe that we'll come to 195 now at this point, actually. Is that a 10% swing? Yeah, roughly 10%, right? Because we're at 170 something. It's a little more than 20%. $17 would be 10%. That's a good little swing right there, right? Real good reason to believe it. And honestly, I'll go ahead and set an alert. Yeah, I'll even set it a little. Just let me know if we go up. Let me know if we go up a little bit. I'll even lower this to 60. Interesting. Again, an alert is by no means an automatic intention to buy. It's just a, hey, come check this thing out, right? And again, we just drew this extra line on the weekly. Is that all-time highs after that? It's not. Ooh, this thing, interesting. All right, interesting. Let's see what happens after that 195. It's definitely a little high on the weekly, that's for sure. Not that high. Yeah, it's here on the, it's got some life. All right. This is an interesting play, actually. DO. Okay, so DO, again, we talked about this, right? I'm going to go on the weekly here. This, we literally drew the lines and it's pretty much running it on pace, right? This is what happens when you drop hard, then you break the 8 moving average, okay? Then you start working your way up. Clearly, we kind of start working our way down. We get a nice bounce on the 20. And then once we cross this line, boom and boom, right? Because again, there's just no resistance here. And look, if it could get over this line, you're in all-time highs, and it's a beautiful thing, okay? So this single line, you can clearly see what happens once it breaks it, right? So look, not a wild number, but it is definitely almost, it is a 10% move right there, right? In only a week, right? And I'm telling you, if you can make 10% a week, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful thing, right? So DO is a lot to do with trading near all-time highs and having very low resistances. So look, this thing is definitely still going up. By no means does it seem like it wants to come down and hit the 20 yet, right? We still haven't come anywhere near a 50% candle scare, right? This wasn't even 50% candle at all, right? 50% would have been roughly here, right? So as long as this thing stays over 1162, this thing should seemingly go to that 12 number, 1201 that we had, which is pretty much the high of this. Once 1201 hits and breaks, it really could be anyone's game, because I'm telling you, all-time highs is a beautiful place to have your money. So DO looking good, and again, it really should have been no surprise once we crossed it. And I know we talked about this on the YouTube chat, actually. Of course, nothing's financial advice, but yeah, beautiful 10% swing. Yeah, and again, we saw the weekly, and look, there's nothing else I could draw because this is the last history I have, right? So it really is a nice place to have your money in all-time highs. So yeah, not too much more to say here, but definitely good things were said. So those were all the oil stocks. We're now coming into some of the energy ones. So this is, oh man, look at this. Okay, super, super tight. Obviously a real nice run up from sub 8 all the way to the 200, right? Again, we said it earlier, we'll say it now. The 200 is last for a reason, and it's a hard one to break. The sad thing is we got a pretty hard rejection, actually. A bunch of selling this last couple days, too, and looks like MACD is about to go bad. RSI is starting to look good, starting to look bad, excuse me. This is getting worrisome. Honestly, it looks like 350 might happen, if not actually 325. So I'll go ahead and draw a line down here, but hopefully it doesn't come all the way here, because as long as the uptrend started, the uptrend goes down, and then keep going, at least you'll have some sort of uptrend trend line to make, right? Hopefully I said that well and you understood that. But coming down here obviously sucks a lot, especially if you got in around 4, right? But theoretically, someone down here is still feeling okay at 325, and hey, it might keep going back up, right? So just kind of think of it like that. But yeah, look, beautiful movement, a clear place for it to fail, and then yeah, just a real bad rejection, really, right? So, and look, it actually breaks it, but you get bad confirmation, right? And then just not great confirmation, not great confirmation. There kind of should have been no surprise, right? So this actually would have been a little avoidable, and I'm worried for tomorrow. If this loses 372, it'll come down to 350, excuse me, pretty hard. So be careful at 372. That is for sure. The weekly should look good. Okay, weekly again is super clustered. I'm glad it's at the top of the cluster than the bottom of the cluster, but again, it's pretty tight with the moving averages, right? So, yeah, again, if this thing can get over it and work its way up, that'd be real nice, but definitely easier said than done. GEVO. I think GEVO made a decent run up. It did. I see that. Look at that. Nice. RSI is a little high. We're sitting at the 70s. But yeah, look, it tries to break the 20. It can't, but it gets a nice bounce on the 8, and then just once you break the 20, you should make your way to the 50. Once you break the 50, where's the 100 at? Hey, there's a good chance to believe this might come to the 100, right? That's moving average theory for you. Good amount of volume, good amount of buying. RSI, again, it's a little high, but, it's still 70. We don't really get worried till like 75, a little closer to 80, right? So I could still see one more good push. If it could get over that 1216, lot of reason to believe it'll come to 225. That 225 spot, I could see it being a place where it'll cool down. But look, I can already see it, right? It's been a while. It broke the 50, but definitely nowhere near bounce and fails hard. We break it here, hopefully bounce on the 50, and hey, maybe we try to get the 100 and the 200, right? But GEVO turning it around very, very nicely, and really I would say this was probably the best place to get in, right? At least the safest, right? Break them both, bounce off the 8, make your way up. GEVO, good job, GEVO. How's the weekly? Hey, the weekly's looking nice. And look, this 216 number would put us in a real nice place. Haven't been over the 20 for a good while actually. So this March to June timing was really the last time, and so that would be real good actually. And hey, it looks like 2 to 3 might be realistic. And hey, that's a 50% move right there, right? So GEVO should be on your radar actually if it hasn't been already. Okay, it used to be LIACF. It has uplisted and is now AMLI. It is still the same name, American Lithium. It is just now in NASDAQ. So look, if I look up LIACF, American Lithium in pink, again, we don't care about that one. AMLI, American Lithium on NASDAQ. Okay, so what are we looking at here? This is a brand new chart, okay? So there's not too much to really look at, okay? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, it's only been 5 days. I need 8 to start an 8 moving average, right? So there are 0 moving average lines. I have absolutely no idea about the math on the MACD, but there's been no MACD yet. I'm assuming it needs 12 days because that first number is 12, but yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know. And then I need 9 MACD readings to get an average of the last 9 of them, right? RSI, again, I'm assuming I probably need 14 days because that's what that 14 means. Do I really know? Not at all, right? And then I need 5 RSIs to get a moving average of the 5, right? Obviously, we can see all the volume. So when this happens, what do I do, right? All I can really do is look at like candle to candle, okay? So I'm going to draw a line here because that's obviously just where it opens, right? The day down here, hey, look, this is a lot closer to 50% than I would have been comfortable with, okay? But you know what? I'll be honest, I held. I was in this during the uplist momentum. I got a good 30% at least because of the uplisting, right? So there was at least an early banking in my pocket. So I held this day, all right? I had stop losses ready just in case, but yeah, I let the day finish. Because we actually never got lower than this. All right, that's where my sell would have been. So once this day ended, I moved my sell to right here. Okay, luckily we open up here. So once that happened, I actually turned this thing off. Okay, because now I'm starting to believe we're gonna be fighting for all-time highs. We definitely break the line and get that big candle, but I actually said it. I thought it would have gone even more than it did this day. Today, I for sure sold, if not almost. And again, what did I do? I had my limit sell right here. It opened better than I expected, but yeah, I mean, there was a hard wick at one point, and I know I limited out, so I don't think I'm in this at all anymore. But yeah, I was real happy. I did really well because of the uplisting news. And then, yeah, it had a decent couple days. It really did, right? Not quite 10% organically, but yeah, it went from, actually, yeah, I think it did, give or take. But yeah, not too bad. So I was real happy with this. But again, I'll be honest, I know people that will not trade stocks until the 20th day because they want to see what the 8 and the 20 look like. You know, it's just, there's very little here, right? So there's very little for you to really go on. And I mean, these wick downs, like, that's scary. That's scary. That's scary. It is. You know what I mean? So especially because there's very little information. What's the weekly going to look like? Yeah, it's these candles. There's nothing, right? This was last week and we're now into today, right? The second week. So just very, very little information, right? So be careful when you trade new stocks. But again, you can definitely do them, right? It's just compare to the candles, compare to the big one. Hey, this one at least closed above 50%, right? The wick, if it didn't scare you out or stop you out, you're at least above 50%. So that's should be a little comforting. The next important thing is going to be break 331. If you can break 331, you're back in all-time highs, and that's a beautiful thing, right? And hey, we've still at least got this little uptrend going, right? So we haven't actually broken the uptrend either. That could be something else we would track here. Let me just at least just show it real quick. I use this. So I go from green, right? So green to green is that. As long as we don't lose whatever number this is, give me a sec. As long as we don't go, yeah, and that's almost 50% candle. Sub 324, 323, that's where I'll start getting a little worried, because then you might actually start losing this uptrend line as well. So, yeah. But again, you know, different people have different strategies for how they do things, right? So that's at least whatever I can say about this very early chart. TMC made a real nice run, and again, okay, let me take a step back, okay? So, really hard all-time low hit right here, okay? Then it starts to break some moving averages, definitely hits a wall, right? They're all kind of walls, right? If you can break them, that's great. If not, they hit the wall. Drops down and is able to use the 50 as the bounce point. That's a beautiful thing, right? RSI is still a little high, but hey, maybe it'll be enough to get it over the 100 and you know, kind of do the first bounce on the 100 in a good while, right? So I do like this chart. I'm a little worried. I think the daily's just a little too high. And look, obviously the buying has been more than the selling, but the volume's just been a little sad here, right? If this thing could trade a little closer to that million two number you see there, that would make this move a lot better for sure. But hey, a real nice run from the 60 to 80 range right there, almost a 50%er. It actually almost basically went from 60 to 90, right? So a good 50% move there. Hopefully that helped a lot of accounts that saw some bad stuff happen here. But yeah, it's actually not looking too bad here. And then weekly, hey, we're at least over the 8. If we can get over the 20, that will be a lot better, because you can see we've done it before, but definitely not sustained. If we can close 2 weeks above this, oh, that'll be real good, okay? Hey, trade safely out there. I hope you're learning. I appreciate your time.